Hello, everyone. Welcome to Meet Our Mentors. My name is Art Gruenberger. I am your host, and I am thrilled to be here with Matt and Lily from Lilypad Puppet Theatre. Hello, Matt and Lily. How are you?
Hello. We're great.
Excellent. It's wonderful to have you guys here today. And friend. So you
Hippie.
guys are very nice. And I love the hats as well, by the way.
We just
So
threw these on.
outstanding. So you guys are new to the relatively new to the puppet scene. Can you tell me what brought you to puppetry and what have you been doing?
Well, as with many puppeteers, kind of random, I just happened to make a puppet as a gift for someone and really enjoyed that. And then made another puppet. And when you have a lot of puppets, your friends start saying, why don't you do something with that? And we live in a household with a bunch of people and we throw a lot of parties. So we started by just doing puppet shows for our friends, just for fun. And before you know it, we started going to schools and festivals and becoming more obsessed with all the parts, all the different styles of puppetry. So that's kind of how we randomly fell into it. And Matt is a classical guitarist, and so he performs, for a living.
Yeah, I was used to being a freelance performer, so I kind of knew how the business of it worked. And I had for years been putting on classical guitar concerts in the town we live in Ithaca. And I would advertise and I would tell everybody I knew. And if I was lucky, maybe 20 or 25 people would come. And then Lily and I started doing puppet shows, and 70 people would come or 100 people would come. And I could play the same music. I could play the same music at the puppet show that I would in the concert. So I thought this is a great way to trick people into listening to classical guitar music.
I love that.
To play it during the puppet show.
That's brilliant, right? Like entice them in with puppets.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I hear from every library that ever books my company is like, musicians and storytellers, not so much, but puppets and magicians will bring them in every single time. So It sounds like you've discovered that as well. So here's you guys performing. What show and where is this at? And are you playing class? And are you wearing the same hat? How perfect.
This is our classic show, like our first real worked show called Aunt Irene's Variety Show. And the puppet there is Aunt Irene. She's the hostess of a show that has all these crazy variety acts. And this was for our fundraiser, the Lilypad Soiree, where we tried to give our best pieces for the people and do a lot of silly things, a lot of surprises at this fancy get together to raise money for the theater.
Fantastic. Now, you sent us a bunch of pictures that I just loved going through, and you guys are diving into nearly every style of puppetry that is out there right now. I saw big parade puppets. I saw shadow puppets. I saw crankies. I saw hand puppets. I saw glove puppets. You're sampling everything. Do you have a particular favorite that you're diving into and that you're leaning more towards right now, or?
Well, we started out doing a hand puppet show with the type of box theater you see in the picture there, kind of like Punch and Judy inspired. And Lily, that's really her forte and what she loves. And because it's about voices and acting and story, and I really love the shadow puppet shows because I get to do a lot of things with music. Having a show that doesn't have story, is just music and visuals, I feel like is really suited to the shadow puppet world. So I kind of lead the charge on the shadow puppet shows, and Lily is the force behind the hand puppet shows. And those are our two main things. And then we always dabble in everything because you go to the puppet conventions and you get inspired and you want to try it. And we're lucky that the community of puppeteers is very encouraging of that. They want you to try new things, and you don't have, I never feel like, oh, I'm not an expert, I can't do this.
Nice. That's great. And that's what I love about the puppetry festivals as well, is that there's usually workshops that will give you sort of an in on some of the things, so you don't have to completely reinvent the wheel. Although I still find myself completely reinventing the wheel a lot, and then finding the workshop that's like, oh, if I would have taken that workshop 2 months before, right? So what's been the most challenging part of puppetry for you guys? Like what do you feel like, oh, here's what we get to work on, and here's what we want to work on?
Well, I guess I always feel self-conscious that I'm not, I don't know, that I'm not giving enough, I guess. I feel like after a show, unless I am showered with compliments, like extremely, I'm like, oh, we could have done that better. Maybe that could have been smoother. Maybe, the jokes could have been funnier. I don't know. I think
I think this is something that, like I mentioned before, I came from the world of classical music. And when I was growing up, I thought I was a pretty good classical guitar player, and I went to a fancy music conservatory. And when I got there, I was at the bottom of the heap. And then for the rest of your life, you're kind of comparing yourself with the best people in the world. So it's easy to have a chip on your shoulder, but that is what pushes you to bring your art form to a really high level. And I feel like the same thing is true for us in puppetry. We really try to go out and see the best shows there are. We love going to the festivals to see the shows. Wherever we travel, we see puppet shows. And then the best shows become our standard for what we're trying to match. And I think Lily just, the local audience may love her show, but if she doesn't feel like she did the best possible performance of it, she can feel like, she wants to, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I saw like the Richard Bradshaw thing, and now I see that my background doesn't make any sense. Or like, that cat doesn't move smoothly enough, or whatever. You're just always wanting to do better, because there's so many options. There's so many different styles. It's just such a deep. There's so much in puppetry that's possible. So, you're always like, I could have done it this other way.
And if you really love it, and you, like I was saying, you seek out the best things and the things that inspire you, then that becomes, what you're comparing yourself to. And that can be hard, but it's also what makes the work. It's what brings your work up to a high level.
Yeah, if you're using it as a goal, as a this is where what I desire to be, right? This is where I want to get to. Absolutely. So you've seen a lot of shows. Do you have favorites?
Tons. Oh my god.
So what if you had to rank your all-time top puppet show, and what would it be so far? Of course, so far.
Well, one that definitely comes to mind was one that we saw at a puppet homecoming. It was a British company, Meet Fred. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, that was an amazing show. It was a Bunraku show. It was a Welsh company, actually.
Sorry.
And they're sensitive about those things. You don't want to.
Cut that out.
It was just a really great mix of humor with something that was meaningful but didn't feel patronizing. I don't know. I can't say much more about it. Yeah. I love that show.
Yeah.
For kids shows, we were both really inspired by Cardboard Explosion.
Absolutely.
Brad Shore does, because we had done improv, and it just showed me how much fun performing a kids show could be, and inspired me to want to perform for children more.
And the Joshua show, of course.
Oh yeah.
Huge crush on the Joshua show. Just love that Joshua. Oh my Joshua.
There's so much gentleness in that show, isn't there? I mean, that's a lovely show.
it makes you want to cry and you're happy at the same time. And that's wonderful.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Those are really great. We also watch a lot of things, visual, videos and stuff. And I would say that we were very inspired by Food Party, a show that you could find on YouTube, which was a very, for adults, puppet show, but it was really ridiculous. And also The Creatures of Yes. Those videos are really
it's
awesome.
It's an ongoing YouTube puppet series, which is just a really great kind of, I don't know, surreal Muppets type thing.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no, go ahead.
I was just, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, there's so many inspirations. I could really go on forever, but I was going to say, one of the big things I think for us was going to Baltimore and seeing their Cranky Fest. That was a huge, huge deal because Catherine Fahey doing her thing, Alex and Olmsted did a Cranky at one of these events. And that really inspired us because not only did we see it and make a Cranky, but we actually did our own Cranky. We call it the Cranky Cabaret, but we brought that same concept of theirs to our town. And now we've done it for like years and it's a huge hit in this town.
And so are you teaching people how to make a Cranky and then having the festival? Is that sort of a build and present kind of?
Yeah. And that's what inspired us about what they did in Baltimore, because it was a mix of amateurs and professionals who were performing. And the artistic quality was really high. And we just thought, we could do that. Like, we know visual artists. We can teach them how to make a Cranky. We know professional storytellers. We can teach them how to make a Cranky. The Cranky is a very democratic form of puppetry. There's a lot you can do with it. It's adaptable to, like I was saying, visual artists, storytellers, puppeteers, musicians,
clowns.
Yeah. So we didn't know a lot of puppeteers in our town in Ithaca, but we knew enough artists of all sorts that we could convince them to do this thing and have a festival. And it was a lot of fun to do. And because of that, we've done it now we've done 3 shows and we're planning a 4th.
And it's really like the best part of it is kind of making friends, because what we do is we will find someone who's never made a Cranky before. And we're like, look, you're really good at this. We will help you do everything. Here's a huge document. It says everything you need to know about the Cranky Cabaret. And it tells you can borrow a box. We'll show you how to build a box. We'll give you the materials. We'll hook you up with an artist. We'll hook you up with a musician. We basically will take that person and we will do anything they need to help them create this piece.
So they just have to have an idea then. I mean, and everything. God, that's great. That's really fun.
Yeah. It's really fun. So we get a lot of people who have never performed ever on stage. Some people with stage fright, and we kind of slowly usher them into the stage, and it's awesome. It's amazing. You get such variety, and we get to all make friends with these people, and it becomes like a bond. We've cried with some people where it's like they were making a Cranky. It became stressful. There was crying. We went through it, and now we're closer.
Yeah, the catharsis of theater, of course. It's lovely. So the Cranky Festival isn't the only way that you're pulling community together. You're actually pulling community together in the puppet theater world as well. With you're calling it a micro guild or a pod, or what? Can you tell me a little bit about that? What you're doing where you're living?
Yeah, we named it the Puppet Pod before COVID pods. Now the word pod has a different kind of connotation, but the idea was there's the Puppetry Guild of Upstate New York, which since we got involved 5 or 6 years ago, hasn't been very active because it's very hard to congregate the puppeteers that are dispersed over this large area. And 6 months of the year, there's so much snow, you don't want to drive anywhere. So there just wasn't a lot going on. But we were starting to build our own community of puppeteers in Ithaca, and blanking out on her name, the woman who suggested the pod to us.
Sharon Murphy.
Sharon Murphy, Yes.
Yeah.
She said, what you need to do is make a pod. And it's the smaller unit from a guild or something. And so we did that, and we started meeting, we planned events, and this was kind of an outgrowing of the really what we learned from doing the Cranky Cabaret, which is that if you make it, they will come kind of attitude. In that if you want to create a thriving scene, you have to bring people in. You've got to teach them about what's going on, about puppetry, and we just found that we had a lot of fun inspiring people and then getting them to do their own performing, people who were not professional performers.
That's fantastic. So, and are you guys working at the college at all? Are you bringing the college into the community at all? Because I know a couple of puppeteers that have come out of Ithaca and went to school there and just and are doing amazing puppetry work now. So it might be worth tapping into a little bit.
That's true. We haven't had a lot of people from the college necessarily get involved. Sometimes they come and do like videos for their video projects.
There's some crossover. Lily did a student film, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. I made masks for a student film. And then, well, the one thing we've had is from Cornell, there's a choreographer who moved to town from Cornell who also is really into puppets. And so he had commissioned us to make these giant mohigangas, these giant parade puppets, which, we have pictures of, right? Well, there's these ones that are these big ladies. And he did a performance that was a dance performance and had to do with migrant worker rights. So we have that connection with Cornell and him. But yeah, not as much with Ithaca College. And you're right, there probably is some way to tap into that. But the trouble is that the colleges are like a bubble up on the hill. And very rarely do they come down to us lowlanders. So it's a little hard to they're in the bubble of the academia and it's overwhelming. So they can't, it's hard for them to come down to the community and these are the mohigangas that we built for Juan Manuel.
And our theater from the beginning has had a kind of popular orientation in that we're trying to sell tickets to the shows. And I like the theater that is put on in the academic world. I enjoy it.
But they're not always leaning towards ticket sales. Sometimes it's more, let's think about theater instead of enjoy theater. Yes.
So we go to theater at both of the universities. But like I said, that the way that we are funding the theater is getting the general public in the seats. So it's a bit of a different world.
Absolutely. What are the heads made of these characters here?
They are chinwire with paper mache. They're paper mache.
Lovely. Neat. If you've got any questions for Matt and Lily, feel free to type them into the chat, and we would love to have your questions. And I would love to turn the conversation now to that. Now, I understand, Matt, you have a musical background, and Lily, before you moved into puppetry, did you have arts training, or where did you?
I mean, did I?
Well, you did creative writing.
Yeah, I did creative writing. I was an English person, and I taught English. I had educational background in teaching. But I think I've just always been really crafty and just gotten involved in every kind of craft, see sewing, then I try sewing, see gluing, I try gluing, but I don't have any formal arts education besides the writing. Yeah.
Nice. So then the program's name is Meet Our Mentors. Do you have, arts mentors or puppetry mentors, or tell me about the mentors that inspired you?
Yes. So, okay, I made a list, but yeah, besides watching a lot of TV, I grew up watching a lot of TV and, and I watched everything: Lamb Chop, Pee-wee's Playhouse, The Muppet Show, Sesame Street, everything, Fraggle Rock, all that stuff. So it was always in there because I loved all that stuff. And then once I got into puppetry, there was actually a local puppeteer named Miss McPuppet who had retired, but I found her and she lived in my little town. And so I asked her for some help and she was like, yeah, I'd love to mentor you. So she came to some of our shows and just kind of gave us, there she is, gave us some advice that was really useful. And she really gave me some bits. She was like, try this, the puppet comes on and then the flower grows. And then she like gave me some really good kind of bits to start out with and work with. So she's wonderful. She's a visual artist and has gone back to doing painting. But she was really just a lovely human. So she helped us out. And then we would go, when we did go to the picnics for the guild, Nancy Sander would talk about Punch and Judy, and she gave us the ABCs of Punch and Judy, like all these little things that you did with Punch and Judy. And then that inspired me to watch a lot of Punch and Judy shows and see, and see how to do that. And she actually sent me like a whole manuscript that she was writing for helping people with puppetry. And I read that whole thing.
Just a very, very generous person
Mm-hmm.
with her time. She would talk with us on the phone and very inspiring and generous. And a great puppeteer.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And her article in the journal's been super helpful to me, all the little tips and tricks. I can't tell you how many of those things. It's rare for me to read through and not pick up at least one thing that then like I add to my list of things I need or techniques or absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I always read her thing. And then locally, our friend Linda Wingerter, known as Polysonic, she has a studio here, and she was also another one of these super generous, lovely people who let us come to her studio. And she was doing a lot of mechanisms for moving paper puppets. And her shadow stuff is just amazing and really, really super inspiring. And she's another one of these people that just will invite you in and tell you everything and help you in any way. And she's been in our Cranky Cabaret, which was awesome. So she was a big inspiration and help to us.
Before we actually started performing, it still is a theater in Syracuse called the Open Hand Theater. And we went there to see a puppet show, to see what a professional puppet show was like. And it was also a very inspiring thing because we saw the show, and then after the show, the puppeteers were really happy that we were there, and they brought us backstage and they showed us everything, and they encouraged us to make a theater and to start doing puppet shows. And like I said, I know this because I've come from the world of music, not every arts community is that supportive. So it felt special to me to kind of be brought in that way. And especially there was a puppeteer there,
Vladimir. I forgot his last name.
He passed away recently, a few years ago, or maybe a year ago or so.
It was in the puppetry journal.
But he was a Russian puppeteer who had been working in Syracuse for a decade or so. And he was just one of these people who talks about art in a very inspiring way. A way which to me seems kind of romantic, in that, like we're here on stage to express the deepest truths about human existence and this kind of thing, and you can never compromise anything for your art and all this stuff. And I enjoyed that.
Nice. And don't forget the chase scene, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the show we saw was, what was it? This Rumpelstiltskin.
Rumpelstiltskin.
So.
All right. Yeah. No, I mean, what we learned was, and this is what we do now, like wherever we go, we'll go see a puppet show. And then we know that after the show, we're going to stick around, and these puppeteers will most likely invite us to see everything backstage. And then they'll invite us to see their studio. And that's what we would do for them as well. And then we'll invite them to our house and to do a show here. And so everywhere we go, we've made friends, but we've learned from seeing everything, and because puppeteers are generally so inviting. So
Absolutely. We did a festival in Huddersfield, England, and it was a contemporary music festival, but they invited us out to do some shadows to a gamelan orchestra. And so we performed this. It was through Shadowlight Productions, and Wendy Morton was the director. And we met an amazing puppeteer there from Oxford named Stephen Motram. And we said, oh, we're going to be in London. And he said, well, you have to come to Oxford then and visit my studio. And so he brought us to his studio, showed us these incredible puppets, and showed me he said, I'm working on this little piece here, let me show you, and showed me one of the most incredible pieces of puppetry I've ever seen in my entire life, and then took us out to lunch. I mean, just the generosity of spirit with puppeteers can be incredible, right? It's a lovely thing.
It really is. So it's easy to be inspired. And and I think, the other thing was, I think I mentioned, was like traveling. So like when we went to Mexico, and we saw on the street this Lambelombe, this little miniature puppet show, and we had never seen anything like it, and it was amazing. It was incredible. And it's like this lady that Sonia, this is her, with this tiny little suitcase, and the show was amazing. It was so beautiful and simple. And when we saw it, we were like, okay, we need to know everything. We were like, please let us be your friend, and show us inside your suitcase. And then we came immediately. We're like, okay, we have to do a Lambelombe Festival. We have to get all our friends to make Lambelambes. We're going to do this. And we started to work on that.
Mm-hmm.
But then the pandemic kind of messed it up.
And this is, an example. When the first trip we did to Mexico, our Spanish skills were pretty poor. And we met a lot of puppeteers who didn't speak English very well or at all. So this was an example of puppetry really bridging the language barrier, because it was, like you said, in England, people would want to take us to their studios, perform little things for us. And, we're still communicating half in hand gestures. But it was the same kind of spirit.
So has the Lambelombe Festival already happened, or is that something that now that the world is coming back to normal, is it something that's on the books for you guys, or where is that at? Because that sounds fantastic.
It's in the long-term plans, because
we have a 10-month-old child, so that also is pushing some things off a little bit.
So you guys needed a third puppeteer. Is that the purpose? Is that really?
Yeah, that's right. Right now she's a puppet, but one day she'll be a puppeteer.
Absolutely.
But, I think that's another challenge, though, is that we actually get a lot of ideas all the time. And then we just can't possibly do all the ideas, because while, Lambelombe was the next big idea. But then during the pandemic, I had a new idea. And now I'm obsessed with my new idea, which is called Puppet Runway. And it's a fashion show inspired by the art of puppetry, but really a puppet show that looks like a fashion show. And I'm now obsessed with making wearable clothes that become puppets and roping all of our friends into doing that. So that's the next big weird thing we're going to do.
I love how you have the idea and then everyone else is also doing the idea. I think that's just a lovely way to put things together and to try things out, right? It's like, so you don't have to be just doing it in your own little isolated bubble. You're like, we're all 50 of us are going to make these costumes that transform somehow magically into puppets. That's fantastic.
Yep. Sometimes you just have to set up the framework. That's the thing. I think that people want to do creative things, but it's like the idea of having this blank page and now I'm going to make something can be very challenging. So I think what we're good at is setting up this framework and being like, okay, here's the framework. You've got 10 minutes to do something like this. And you have a lot of flexibility, but this is the frame. And we're going to do the show. We're going to do all the promotions. We'll do all the stuff, but like, you're going to focus in on this. And
you will get
helpful.
Paid real money, US currency that you can use to pay your taxes.
Yeah.
Not a lot. But we're not paying you in food. We're not paying you in exposure.
Yeah,
and
money.
That helps get people involved.
I bet that makes sense. That makes total sense. So you guys, Lilypad Puppet Theatre is a nonprofit, and is this what you're cycling everything through? Is this the sort of the purpose of the nonprofit, or are you still sort of trying to figure out what that is?
Yeah. So we have the nonprofit that Lily and I and some other local people are on the board of. And it supports the children's series we do, the Cranky Cabaret, so that we can pay all these performers that we hire. And then it also funds the outreach work that we do. So we do puppet making workshops. We do shows for community groups that otherwise couldn't afford to have puppet shows, things like that.
Yeah.
So
fun. Nice.
Yeah.
Let's look at just a little video. What I know we're doing. We have those 3 videos. What was the first segment on the video? Can you set it up for us?
So this is a piece from my Cranky Cabaret, and it's a piece I did called "The Adventures from a Russian Colony," and this was me describing in my Cranky what happened in this Russian kind of camp, sort of, that I used to go to as a child. So this is like shadow puppets and part of the Cranky Cabaret.
Great, let's take a look.
But most importantly, every afternoon they would gather in the clubhouse, which had the only TV on the whole colony, to watch American soap operas. Here's the funny thing. They would turn the TV volume way down, and they would turn on the Russian radio, where there was one guy who would translate the whole show in a really monotone, unenthusiastic voice. He did all the characters. And now, welcome back to All My Children. No, Maria, it can't be true. We are not brother and sister. Нет, Maria, это неправда. Неправда и сестра. Yes, Mark, it is true. We were both born in San Francisco. Нет, Марк, это правда.
That's fantastic. That's terrific. So did you grow up in Russia then? Is that?
Yeah, I was born actually in Kiev. And I came to America when I was a little kid. I was 7. We were refugees. So I have a lot of crankies and stuff that are interview my parents about their time in the Soviet Union, and my own experience growing up with the Russian culture. So it's definitely, I think there's always a lot of fodder in your childhood, so I'm using it.
and to have such a lovely background too. I mean, that's even more interesting, as you know, for someone who didn't have that background to see as a piece of theater. That's fantastic. It must be really tough coming from Kiev and having everything going on in the world right now. How's that going for you?
Well, since I left as a kid, I don't have personally any connection to any people there, but my family knows some people there. So my parents are obsessively checking the news and definitely have some anxiety about that and feel very sad about everything that's happening. So it's a tragedy. It's really sad for everyone. For Ukraine, it's tragedy for all the Russian soldiers who don't want to even be there. It's really rough, but I don't personally have any friends or family there left. So,
yeah. Well, enough of that. Let's look at more puppets. Let's take a look at this next little bit. And can you set this one up? It's the one with the ducks, I believe.
Yeah, so this is a short clip from a show we did with the community orchestra. And this is a movement from Stravinsky's Pulcinella, which is a ballet. And it's really about the character Pulcinella, which is the same character that is Punch from Punch and Judy. But we changed it to for the whole show to be animals that exist in the pond ecosystem of upstate New York. So there's ducks and frogs and things like that. And this is the duck movement.
Fantastic. All right, let's take a look at that. Fantastic. That's really fun. Those ducks have amazing jointing to do the little tail movement at the end when they're upside down. That's really
Thank
fun.
Yeah, that's the where we were inspired by Richard Bradshaw's book on shadow puppets, and Matt got really obsessed with it and did a lot of stuff for using that technique.
People are really impressed, and they say, "I just read one chapter of a book," and copied what he did.
Yeah. He really. I mean, the book's amazing, isn't it? And he really put all of his life's work right into that, and his work was incredible, and still is, frankly. Good. All right. Well, let's look at one more little piece here. And can you set this one up?
So this is part of one of the show we do most often, which is Wanda and the Three Potions, and it's a hand puppet show. And this is a part where Wanda has made some magic potions, and she is going to turn this small little gerbil who's been chased by a giraffe into a giant. She's like, I'm going to make you big. And this is like part of our idea of like having surprises in our shows all the time. We want to always have some kind of surprise. So this is one of those moments.
All right, let's take a look at this.
Do you think I should try again to make Clementine big? Yeah! Okay, I'll try. All right, I'll need another potion bottle. Let's see. Okay. All right, we've got to get the right magic words. Do you remember what my magic words were?
Yes.
They were bibbity, bobbity,
Smooth.
schmoobity. That's it. Yes. Okay, let's see. Here I go. Bibbity, bobbity, schmoobity. Okay, I'm gonna drink it. I feel it. I'm getting bigger. Clementine, you're a giant.
Fantastic. I love it. Very, very, very fun. I'm really looking forward to see what you guys do next. If another guild or another pod wanted to have the framework of what you guys are doing, are you guys developing any sort of like manual for how to put on a Cranky Fest, or manual to how, like, is this something that you guys could share with the, or is it just so free for all that's not even? I'm judging from the terrified look in your eyes that maybe you don't have this. Am I?
Well, I mean, I'm very organized. So, like I said, I have this insane document that says everything you need to know to be part of the Cranky Cabaret. So, I do have a document with pictures and links to like every single thing. So, yes, presumably we could teach someone how to do this. I think. But I think you have to be, the kind of person that's willing to really pay attention to people and see, like, what are their strengths? What are their fears? How can we make someone feel comfortable doing something that maybe they've never done before and performing, and make it good? So, it takes the right personality. But absolutely, I feel like I can teach someone and have a framework for it. Yeah,
I mean that sounds like that would be the most important part of the manual is talking about what you were just talking about, is how to bring someone along and have those people skills to help them get over whatever they need to get over to find what they want to present on stage and then present it. I have some mentors in my life that have really helped me with that exact thing when I've gotten lost in like, well, it's for this age group, or like, this is what I'm trying to market it to. And they've forced me to say, well, what do you want to say with this piece? And I've had one, I worked with Darren Wood of Flock Theater, and he said, go into your bedroom and do not come out until you know what you want to say with this piece. I was like, how dare he? Doesn't he know who I am? And I went into the bedroom and I came out. I was like, okay, this is what I want to say. It was so helpful. It was really helpful. Well, if people want to get a hold of you, they can go to your website, and I will put that up on the screen, lilypadpuppettheatre.org. What's coming up next for you guys in the near? I mean, obviously, 10-month-old. There's a lot of babying going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's coming up next?
We're hard at work on a short shadow piece, Goldilocks and the Three Aliens. And we'll perform that in May. And then we have our Cranky Cabaret year 4, which will be in October. We're already getting the wheels turning on that. And we're going to be performing all over upstate New York in the summer during our hand puppet show, town festivals.
Fantastic. Are you guys finding the
libraries.
bookings are finally coming back into place now, or?
Yes, no, it's amazing, and I'm getting a lot of requests for workshops. So I'm kind of developing a new shadow puppet workshop for teens and for kids to make. Basically, I'm making something where they can make these 3-part shadow puppets that actually move. Something more intricate than just the one shape on a stick, but they're animals, and they can mix and match the animals. So it's like
fun.
You can take the front of a duck and the back of a cat and mix them together. So trying to do something silly, but also that has real good movement, like something that a professional could use, but for kids.
Neat. Matt, I have a question for you. So, like, you're the musician, and as I was watching the hand puppet piece with you on the side, sort of accompanying and watching the show and making sure that your accompaniment was matching what was happening on. So the puppets are getting all of the attention now. And how is that? Is that been challenging for you? Is that difficult for you to set ego aside and be like, all right, I'm a classically trained musician, and these little pieces of felt and fluff are getting all of the love. What is that tough?
Yeah, Matt, how does that feel?
Well, what I can say is that I am on stage the whole time, and people don't even see her.
Touche.
So I'm the one who gets recognized in public.
Yeah, I know. We got to work on a show where they can see me.
No, I love performing for children. I like children, and to me, the fun of that show is watching. I get to watch the kids react to the show, and it's always different. So even though we've done the show a lot, I still have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, it's true. Like after the show, I'm always like, Matt, what did you see? Tell me what happened, because I can't see as well as he can to see all the kids' reactions. So I'm like, what did they do? What did they say? And he has to tell me everything.
Nice. I tell you, there's nothing like live music with a puppet show to really set it off. I mean, like it's like pre-recorded music works, but it's when it can be live and it can be, you just see you guys breathing back and forth, with that particular show, even in just that minute, and that's just magical. I just love that. It's really cool. Well, thank you guys so much for taking a little bit of your time and chatting. I know that's not easy, having a 10-month old and taking a little bit of time. And she's been quiet the entire time. Are you going to show? Can we see the monitor so we can see just really quickly? Just wondering.
Yeah, let's see. Let's take a look here. This is
all right.
Science technology. All right, baby. Let's see. Can I get it to show up? There it is. There's the baby.
Look at that. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I hope she stays asleep for a while longer. Thank you guys so much. Listen, we've got Sarah Nolan coming up next month on May 12th. We hope you join us there. Thanks everyone for joining us today. And thank you, Lilypad Puppet Theatre. We can't wait to see you all in the near future. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.